Hello, Planet Earth. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Preston L. Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations. As always, you've made your way to the Buffyngton Post.
Enter all ye who seek knowledge.
Alright, so on May 24th, which is a couple of weeks away, we will be getting issues number 5 and number 7 of Angel and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, respectively. And so today I'm going to give my predictions of what I think is going to be going on in the May books of our Buffyverse comics.
Exactly.
Without further ado, let's get into it. Here we go.
Yes, observe.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
The battle's done, and we kind of won, so we sound our victory cheer. Where do we go from here?
Now, usually when it comes to predictions, I'm half just laying out predictions for what's actually going to happen, and I'm half just kind of saying what I want to happen. And so I want to go ahead and get Angel out of the way, not because I'm not convinced that something interesting isn't going to happen in Angel, but the fact of the matter is I really only have one major prediction that I feel like could be valid, and it's like a major prediction. You better get your teacup ready, you better take a seat, you better get ready for this prediction, because on the one hand, you may have already come to it yourself, but on the other, it's so out there that if I'm right, it's a bold move.
Observe my bitter ranting. Hear the shrill edge of hysteria in my voice.
So, my prediction for Angel Season 11, post issue number 4, going forward, is that Illyria is in Angel. Now, my major clue here, and I know you're thinking that I'm crazy, but my major clue has not come from anything within the book, but rather issue number 4's cover. You see, I was very confused by the cover, which has Fred here, okay, and then Illyria coming out of Fred and looking like she's going into Angel. Now, there's nothing necessarily in the book to suggest this. However, there was one panel after Illyria and OG Illyria got together and Captain Planeted the lava chunk out of existence. There was this great big white flash at the bottom of the page, and at first I was thinking, is that Illyria separating from itself? Separating from the Fred body? But then I was like, oh no, that's Angel down there. But there is this great big flash of light. And we know that Illyria kind of goes dormant after this moment. And Angel is holding Illyria when Illyria goes out of Fred to become dormant for a moment, okay? And Fred comments on the fact that she cannot feel Illyria within her at all. And Illyria, OG Illyria, tells Angel that he must illuminate the path. And so I'm thinking that what happened was Illyria expelled so much energy from itself that it might have separated itself from Fred's body. Okay, because Fred is now a living body, and the fact that Illyria and Fred are now sharing that living body, it makes the rules of what's going on with Illyria that much more up in the air. And so my big prediction going forward for Angel Season 11 is that Illyria has somehow gotten into Angel's body and will have to get back into Fred's. And I think that if this is the route they're going in, I think that Fred will understand that Illyria needs to be within her, and it's going to be a very serious decision that Fred herself makes, a decision for herself, you dig? And so that's my big prediction. Illyria's in Angel, but will go back into Fred after Fred figures out how and that it's necessary. So stay tuned for that. Minor predictions, I'm thinking that we might We might meet back up with Wesley. Wesley, that's my friend's name, Wesley. We might meet back up with Wesley. We might maybe meet up with Lorne, but like past versions of those characters. Like maybe even we'll go into Pylea and see like pre-LA Lorne, and maybe they'll like switch around the timeline so that in fact like Illyria and Fred and Angel all together basically like make sure that Lorne gets to where he needs to go to make it into LA. I think that would be a nice way to kind of wrap it in, because time travel, I don't like the fact that they are literally changing history. I would rather it be that they are actually course correcting history. Like maybe something happened and like time is all different now, and it's up to Angel and Frederia to like put time back together. I feel like that would be a much more interesting way to go with it, but all we know for certain is that Darla is on the cover, and so it looks like we're going into Angel's past as Angelus when he was, unliving with Darla. So that'll be interesting, but that's my big prediction. Angel equals Illyria. And moving on to Buffy, like, there's so many different ways that they could go with Buffy. Okay, so Buffy, at the end of issue 6, she was like, we've got to get the word out, we've got to figure out how to let people know what's actually going on, and then we gotta get out of here, like, lickety-split. We need to stop this from happening and going global. So, I do think that we will have Buffy communicate with Dawn and or Giles outside of the camp, like on the phone. We saw her talking on the phone with Dawn a few issues ago. I do think that we will touch base with Xander, Giles, and Dawn in order to try and let them know what's going on in the not an internment camp safe zone. I also don't think it would be out of the question for Buffy and or Giles and Dawn and Xander to kind of reach out to Riley and let him know what's going on, because I mean, we saw Riley in season 8, we saw him for a very little bit in season 9, but then we did see him toward the end of season, so I feel like it would just make sense for them to get Riley in on it, because, you know, he's all up in the government. I think that's what's going to happen, and I do still feel like that there's someone in the not an internment camp that's going to be kind of a familiar face that's going to pop up. Now, we know that Faith is coming back, and we'll deal with Faith when we get to her. She's obviously not already there because she's been presumably in England, although over on Angel and Illyria Cruising Through Time season 11, they haven't really told us anything about Faith's whereabouts, so who knows. Moreover, I do think that we will have something more important for Spike to do, especially as we get toward the end of the season. I feel like Spike is really going to... I feel like they're kind of keeping Spike on the back burner because something is going to be very important for him toward the end of the season. I think that's where they're going to go with it. And I was talking about how I think that Faith may lose the scythe, but I'm starting to think that the reason that may or may not happen is that we talked in issue number 6 here about the fact that the scythe does have this mystical energy, and so if they're trying to suck out all of this mystical energy within the safe zone and kind of house it and store it, the scythe would be at stake, and the scythe is, you know, going back to seasons 7 and 8, it is the source of this army of slayers that we have out there.
Exactly.
And so I want to say, Peter Oliver, I want to say that you're the one who keeps thinking that something might happen and we might have Willow or some other force like remove the slayerness from this race of slayers that's out there. And I'm thinking that perhaps it could be like within the scythe. I think that Buffy may need to give the scythe to Faith in order to make sure that what's going to happen to everybody else in the safe zone doesn't happen to the scythe and therefore affect the other slayers. Now that's all just conjecture, but we have them talking about the fact that this mystical energy does exist within and around the scythe, and so since the scythe is the source of slayer power, I'm worried that if this machine that they're building would be able to suck that energy out, it would unslayerize the post-slayerization slayers. Note from your editor here, I do realize that the scythe has literally been destroyed before, but you have to keep in mind that the new seed of wonder was only created after the scythe was put back together and brought back new by Willow. And so if we're to assume that the scythe being broken in the first place is proof that it won't sever the connection to the new Slayers, we can't really, because we do have this new magic. And we kind of have this understanding that, the scythe is kind of imbued with all Slayer power, if you will. And so, because the new rules of magic are different, is why I'm questioning the scythe in such a way. And I didn't dig through my comment section to find out who had put this idea in there, but one of you was having the idea that we know that Harmony is supposed to be coming. That's what they told us before, but that's when they were telling us about Morgan, who they look to have turned into Jordan, but we really don't even what the heck. One of you was talking about how we know that Harmony is coming, and maybe Harmony and Andrew will team up. And at first I was kind of dismissive of this idea. However, I will say that while at first in Season 10 I really liked the way that they rolled out the Andrews coming out, again, I had serious issues with this notion that he just didn't know that he was gay this whole time. I really don't agree with that. But other than that, I felt like when they rolled out the Andrew coming out party, it was handled pretty well at first. But later on, they just kind of threw Andrew into this super gay space that he hadn't really earned, if that makes sense. And whatever, you know what I mean. And so I'm wondering if maybe he will team up with Harmony, because she's kind of the Wendy Williams of the Buffyverse, you know what I mean? She's like, how you doing? I'm a vampire. I love it. And so I'm thinking that the more I think about it, I do think that Harmony will be kind of maybe our ace in the hole of bringing attention to the not an internment camps. And I think that her teaming up with Andrew, as ridiculous as it kind of sounds, it does make a certain level of sense with the gaiety that they've sprung on Andrew that seems to be more flamboyant than we had expected, at least. What else? I see Willow having to make a super sacrifice, and like I said, if this is going to kind of lead our way into Frey and Time of Your Life, it could be possible that Willow could suck all of the magic out of this machine and store it within herself, and then have to slowly reintegrate it into the world, or maybe she'll have to let Buffy do her wham bam poof pillar light show that happened in Time of Your Life to restore magic back to where it was, which was, going back to my Season 8 coverage, that was my theory back in the day, that we were leading to this moment where basically Willow was putting magic back in the world. And so I feel like there was more I wanted to say about Xander and Dawn and Giles. And I also do think that Vicky the Vampire will come back into play. I think it's out of... I just think it doesn't make sense not to have Vicky in the mix, because we have to have every new facet of this new world that we've been building for ourselves for the past 2 seasons together to kind of overcome this mystical magic. Oh, Ophelia Reyes, that's what I was going to say. We're going to get more into Ophelia Reyes and possibly her connections to this whole dragon situation, and the more that the season goes on, and the more that we see that that Wolfram Hart is not coming to kind of represent these demons, I'm starting to think that they might actually be involved with this whole thing, because they do want to corner the market on demon power, and so it might be that they are behind this entire dragon and internment situation. But again, all of that just remains to be seen. And so that's pretty much it for today, you guys. I've probably gone on a little bit too long, but let me know what you think is going to happen in the May Buffyverse books. Again, they are both Angel issue number 4 of Season 11 and Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 7 of Season 11 going to hit shelves on May 24th, so stay tuned for Buffyngton Post recaps and reviews for those. That's pretty much all for today, you guys. Hope you're having a great 2017 so far, everybody. I'm Preston L. Young, and you can come right back here to the Buffyngton Post anytime for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Illyria Cruising Through Time reviews, more The Leftovers reviews. I just watched the first 10 minutes of Sense8 Season 2. Let me know what you... let me know if you want to see me do reviews on Sense8 Season 2, because I'm all about some Sense8, for real. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, question. Have yourself a great day today, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
The battle's done and we kind of won, so we sound our victory cheer. Where do we go from here?
My BFF.
Joe?
730.
Test for sound and motion. With the... although I... oh, test for sound and motion. Oh, my laundry's done.